Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today we're going to have a new topic, which is the personal tax relief and rebate for the year of assessment 2025. So I've mentioned earlier that this relief, right, we're going to cover three topics, which is the types of relief, types of rebate, as well as joint assessment. Tax relief is only provided to resident individual. So hopefully this session will provide a guide to maximize your tax deduction and relieve your opportunities. Understanding this benefit can significantly reduce your tax burden and help you keep more of your hard-earned money. The India Revenue Board has released a public ruling for 2024 to further explain and provide the guidelines on the tax relief for YA 2024. So let's get back to our formula. All right, total income means that you have identified all your income from section 4A, 4B, 4C, 4D, 4E, and 4F. From there, you have your aggregate income minus your loss, current year business loss, minus your approved donation, then will come to your total income. So here we are referring to the total income. From there, you can claim your relief. Again, relief is only for individual resident. From the relief, you have your chargeable income. Based on the scale rate, compute the tax liability of the individual, then only you minus your rebate. Right? So we have two levels, relief and rebate. So from there, you have your balance of tax liability. Compare that with your tax installment. From there, you know whether you have to pay additional tax or you will get a tax refund. Okay, so for this purpose, I'm using the personal tax issued by L&Co accountants, all right, on the personal tax relief. They have divided the tax relief into individual, means that for each individual that spend their money for this purpose, all right, you can claim relief. And we also have lifestyle and family, parents and spouse, children, as well as insurance and contribution. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 categories of relief, which is in accordance to similar to what we have in the textbook. So later, if this could be a summary, but you still need to refer to your textbook, all right, to get a detailed explanation on each of the relief. So individual tax relief. Again, all right, the first relief that you must claim is a personal relief. So this personal relief is given automatically. It doesn't have to be mentioned in the question, all right, but this relief you have to claim. First thing, we call it as a personal relief of 9,000 ringgit. All right, under separate assessment. So later we look at what kind of assessment. Separate assessment means that you're doing your, assuming husband and wife, so you are actually doing your tax on your own name. Yeah, husband one assessment, wife will do another assessment. And we also have this first time homeowner relief given to individual who purchased their first home. Yeah, your first home purchase, take up a loan. So from this loan, you have to pay interest. So the interest is given up to 7,000 ringgit. All right. But the house, depending on the price of the house. So we have 500,000, below 500,000, 500 to 750,000. So the maximum interest incurred, all right, that you can claim as a relief is 7,000 ringgit for the year. But but this one is 500,000 to 750,000. But if you purchase property which is from 500,000 to 750,000, the relief available is maximum to 5,000 ringgit. So it means that whatever you incurred, the maximum you can claim is 5,000 ringgit. You see that the first time owner in this case, if you purchase 500 and below, the relief given is higher as compared to the mid-range property. Okay, the second one is that any expenditure incurred for the purpose of medical and health relief of the taxpayer, spouse, and their children. So in this case, if you incurred for this purpose, all right, you can claim a maximum of 10,000 ringgit. However, these medical expenses is divided into several items. All right, for example, the 10,000 ringgit can be claimed for the purpose of serious disease incurred treatment in Malaysia, yeah, or fertility treatment and self-testing medical devices. We can also claim for the purpose of treatment of child with learning disability, but this amount is the amount that you can claim is limited to 6,000 ringgit. Similarly, dental examination maximum is 1,000. Complete medical examination is 1,000, as well as for vaccine expenses. So if you can see from here, all right, the 10,000 ringgit is divided into several categories. All right, but the total amount that you can claim is 10,000 ringgit. But some of these expenses, for example, for vaccination, your dental, complete medical checkup, all right, and assessment, all this, there's a limit that you can claim up to 1,000, or in this case, for self-diagnosis or learning disability, is maximum is 6,000 ringgit. But everything here is limited to 10,000 ringgit. Okay. What about the lifestyle and wellness benefit? All right, so the first one is that if you incurred, all right, any expenses related to sports equipment, such as purchase of sports equipment, rental or entry fees for facilities for the purpose of sports competition registration, gym membership, as well as sports training fees, you can claim up to 1,000 ringgit. So that is only for sports equipment. And under lifestyle, you have another 2,500 ringgit that you can claim, which is from book and magazines, a computer and smartphone. So whenever you purchase computer or smartphone, or either for yourself, for your spouse, or even for your children, you can claim up to 2,500. Internet subscription. So most companies or most individual will have to pay internet subscription. So the total amount that you can claim is up to 2,500 lah. So, and finally, self-skill enhancement courses. If you take up any self-skill enhancement course, will also be part of the lifestyle of 2,500 ringgit. So it means that if you have everything here, you have books and magazines, you also have your computer or smartphone, internet subscription, everything is limited to 2,500. And finally, under the lifestyle and wellness benefit, we have basic supporting equipment. All right, a maximum amount of 6,000 is available if you have to purchase essential equipment for individuals with disability or special needs. Again, these individuals refer to yourself, your spouse, or even for your children. And essential equipment for here refers to, for example, you have to purchase for the wheelchair, any supporting equipment, you have to purchase for the bed, for example, all these things is claimable under basic supporting equipment. Okay, now as government moving towards environmental and sustainability relief, all right, the government has allowed a relief on EV charging facilities, all right, electrical vehicle for the installation of electric vehicle charging equipment at your residence, all right, and the food waste composting. All right, now this one is quite new, all right, where we purchase a food waste compost machine for sustainable living. So normally this food waste compost, the machine is about this size, or what you put under the sink, and then whenever you wash, so everything goes into the sink, and then it will compost them. So this food waste composting. But the total amount that is given under environmental and sustainability for these two EV charging facilities and food waste compost is limited to 2,500 ringgit only. Yeah. And this relief is given to support sustainable living while reduce your tax burden through this eco-friendly investment. Okay, the next one is what we call relief under for the spouse and your parental relief, right? So the first one is one we call spouse or alimony, yeah? So if you have a former wife, all right, then and you pay alimony to them, all right, you can claim a maximum of 4,000 ringgit on spouse relief or alimony. Or in other occasion when you go for joint assessment. So this joint assessment is when income of the husband and income of the wife we combine together. So we're going to submit under one name only, either the name of the husband or the wife. So in this case, all right, you can have a spouse relief, all right, in this case of 4,000 ringgit, in addition to the personal relief of 9,000 ringgit. So that's the spouse and alimony. So, but again, if you have go for joint assessment, so the maximum amount is 4,000, so you can only claim one. But if you have spouse really go for joint assessment, you also have alimony. So you whatever you claim maximum is 4,000 ringgit. Then we have disabled spouse. So if your spouse is disabled, you can claim for another 6,000 ringgit. Similarly, for the taxpayer, if you are disabled, you can also claim additional 6,000 ringgit relief. And then we do have parent medical expenses. So the amount given is up to 8,000 ringgit. So for children that incur parents' medical expenses, for example, for the treatment, special needs, you have to pay for the carer, all right? And then you also can go for complete medical examination. But all this again will be part under the parent medical expenses. Maximum that you can claim is only 8,000 ringgit. All right. Then we have child relief benefit. Yes, child relief benefit is for your children. If you have any of your children, number one is that the first category is that if you have children, unmarried under the age of 18 years old. So you must be unmarried and below 18 years old. So you get 2,000 ringgit per child. So it means that if you have 4 children under this category, for 4 times by 2,000 is 8,000 ringgit for your child relief. But if you have any child that is 18 plus but studying full-time education. So in this case, if we have two categories here, one is full-time education, the other one is 18 plus but in higher education. So full-time education, generally, for example, if you're pursuing after SPM, you're pursuing your diploma, all right, sorry, diploma is okay. If you're pursuing any of the certificate, for example, in the foundation, right, Center for Foundation Studies is still regarded as a full-time education. It's not yet higher education. If you're doing, for example, the foundation under any foundation lah, matriculasi, whatever, yeah, so that one is 2,000 per child. But once you go into higher education, for example, from foundation, you go to Gombak, for example, all right, then the parents can claim 8,000 ringgit per child. So if you have few siblings that are studying in university, then 8,000 times by how many child that you have. All right, and then we also have additional if you have no age limit for disabled child, yeah, but the additional relief given is 8,000 ringgit per child. So under this child relief, all right, you have to look at the number of children that you have, then which category are there. So if you're 18 and below, so that's 2,000 per child. And if you're studying in higher education, that will be 8,000. And if any of the child are disabled, then you have additional 8,000 ringgit per child. Okay, for this child relief also, all right, it depends on, you can actually, if you're doing husband and wife, all right, your husband and wife will have to decide who are going to claim for the child relief, all right? So it's possible that husband claim everything, wife are not claiming. Or you can have wife claim everything, husband tak claim. And you can also have whereby uh, husband claim 50%, wife claim 50%. All right. So the decision how much to claim, all right, or how many children to claim under your name, you need to tolerate. All right, you have to discuss with your spouse on how. So, but generally, all right, generally we say that those who have a higher income should claim for the children relief, because once you're higher income, so you claim all the child relief, then your income will be lower. Your chargeable income will be lower, then you have to pay lower tax. So generally that is the rule. But then if the spouse, all right, the husband and wife have divorced, all right, so then again, you have to decide who is going to claim for the children. You cannot have one child being claimed by 2% at the maximum amount. All right, you can have portion 50%, but not our husband claim 2,000. Wife pun nak claim juga 2,000. Cannot do that. All right, so either one, or you can apportion. The next one is additional child relief. Child-related relief is for breastfeeding equipment for the young parents. All right, if they have breastfeeding equipment, you can claim 1,000 ringgit, but this is only available every 2 years. All right, and then we have the SSPN scheme, Scheme Simpanan Pendidikan Negara. All right, the amount given up to 8,000 ringgit for each individual, all right, but this one must be deposited into the children's account of SSPN. All right, as an individual, all right, I may have my SSPN, but the one given as a deduction, as a relief, is if I put my money into SSPN of my children. So the amount that I put deposited will be given as a deduction. But here is a net increase, all right, net increase in SSPN account, because this account SSPM you can actually withdraw during the year. So for that year, for example, for 2025, what is the net deposit? All right, the net amount in your account of SSPN. So for example, if you have beginning of the year, you have 8,000, and then you withdraw 8,000, and you add up another 8,000 deposit. All right, so here you 8 minus 8, then you plus, excuse me. So you have to look at the net increase of the account balance. And then we also have the childcare fee, means that if you have children that you have to send to childcare, for example, IUM Educare or any Brainy Bunch, whatever, all right? So all this childcare fee, you can claim up to 3,000 ringgit, provided that the children is under 6 years old. Okay, the next category is what we have, insurance and contribution relief. So first is that we call it as a life insurance and EPF contribution. So EPF contribution here, we refer to the individual or the employee's contribution. Yeah. So every month in your account, whenever you get salary, if you have EPF, then every month from the salary will be deducted from your salary, for example, 11%. So that amount can be claimed as a deduction against tax total income, you know, so as a relief. But this amount is life insurance slash EPF. So there, if you have both, then the life insurance is the life insurance is restricted to 3,000 ringgit, right? But the EPF contribution is 4,000 ringgit maximum, right? So if you have both, then you can claim life insurance 3,000, but EPF maximum of 4,000. But if you have life insurance, you don't have any life insurance, then the EPF that you can claim is only, let me amend this a bit. All right. Okay, this one life insurance is given as 7,000. So maximum is RM 3,000 for your max. Right, 3,000 for your life insurance and 4,000 for EPF contribution, but from the employee portion. Okay, so we have total of 7,000. The next one is on the education or medical insurance, where we give you increase through 3,000, now become 4,000 ringgit. So education or medical insurance, either you pay for yourself, for your spouse, or your children. But the amount is the education and medical insurance. So if you have both, then you total amount that you can claim is the premium that you paid every month. All right, for the total 2025, how much is the education or medical insurance premium that you have paid? You can claim up to 4,000 ringgit. Right, and then you have SOCSO and EIS. Amount given is up to 350 ringgit only. And then the private retirement scheme, PRS, this one is an additional retirement scheme on top of the EPF. This one is voluntary, but if you contributed to the private retirement scheme, you can claim up to 3,000 ringgit. So this is optional that we suggest that taxpayer will contribute to this, all right, for the purpose, because the government give really because they want us, all right, the taxpayer to contribute to this scheme for the protection. Yeah. And finally, then if you can see in total, all right, maximize your tax saving, there are 15 plus category of tax relief, right? That amount up to a lot, I think. All right, I think that is up to 70,000 potential saving, right? Depending on the type of individual. And then fully complying with Malaysian tax regulation, yeah. Take advantage of these comprehensive tax relief opportunities to optimize your financial planning. Consult with tax expert to ensure you are claiming all eligible deduction and maximize your tax saving. Okay, now let's go into the second category, which is your tax rebate. So again, tax rebate is from your total income minus your relief. You come to your chargeable income, compute your tax rate based on the scale rate for an individual, then you have the amount of tax liability. All right. But then tax liability can further reduce by your tax rebate. So we have four types of tax rebate here. Number one is that you have the chargeable income. So look at your tax com, and if your chargeable income is less than 35,000, then you get a rebate of 400 automatically. Yeah. Or second one is that if you were to go for joint assessment, then automatically you get a 400 ringgit rebate. So rebate, even though it seems 400 ringgit only, but this 400 is deducted against your tax liability. So the amount is significant. All right. And religious payment, for example, you pay for your zakat, all those religious payment. It doesn't have Muslim and non-Muslim as well can claim for this religious payment, but this amount is restricted to the amount of your tax liability. So, for example, if your tax liability is 8,000, but then you pay zakat of 10,000, so your zakat is restricted to 8,000 ringgit of your tax liability only. So that's what you mean by restricted. Similarly, for your departure levy, this one, if you have to pay for your departure levy, if, for example, if you go for Umrah, you go for Haji, so this amount is given as a rebate. But this one, you can only claim every 2 years. Yeah. And finally, all right, under this is the joint assessment. Right? And I mentioned earlier that joint assessment means that as a husband and wife, this you have to compute up to your total income. So once you have your total income, then you're going to combine this total income as one, either under the husband's name or the wife's name. Right? So this joint assessment is available to married couples opting for joint tax assessment, where one spouse transfer their total income to the other. So in this case, total income of husband plus total income of the wife, then you have a joint income. So when should you go for joint assessment? Typically applicable in the chargeable income of the spouse, making the claim does not exceed 35,000 after all the relief. So look at the chargeable income. If chargeable income of one spouse is less than 35,000, then go for joint assessment, because why? By having joint assessment, you can claim your rebate. All right, the rebate given for joint assessment is 400 ringgit, right? And the spouse relief on top of the personal relief, you can also have the spouse relief of 4,000 ringgit if you go given to husband or wife, depending whether under husband name or under wife name, right? But however, this one is not available. The 4,000 spouse relief is not available if the spouse has overseas income of 4,000 ringgit and above. All right. An additional relief of 6,000 if the spouse is disabled is also available under joint assessment. And you also have those relief income. For example, let's say, all right, husband and wife. So wife, total income is joined under husband's name. So what about the expenses incurred by the wife? So expenses incurred by the wife is deemed to be incurred by the husband. However, there are some restrictions, right? For example, if talking about medical expense, medical and education insurance, amount given is 4,000 ringgit. So if you combine husband and wife, the premium that incurred by both of the husband and wife is more than 4,000, but the limit amount is given as 4,000 only. All right. Similarly, if, for example, if you incurred medical expenses for your parents, so if is joined under the husband name, you can only claim expenses incurred for his parent. So if wife incurred, cannot claim because that is not his parents. But if the joint assessment is under the wife name, you can only claim expenses for your parents on the wife's name, right? So husband, even though incurred, but cannot claim. So there are some expenses that can be restricted, right? Depending on the type of expenses. Yeah. If there is a limit, so that is the amount of limit that you can claim. I think that's all for today. All right. Please read chapter 22. Go through all the details that I have given. I've shared with you, and hopefully we'll be able to do our tutorial question tomorrow, inshallah. With that, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.